In the last episode, we established what I was going to do. I was going to chase down a couple of autographs by Sailor Moon voice actresses Stephanie Sheh and Michelle Ruff. And I was going to do this by making my own Sailor Moon fan game for the Atari 2600 and trying to get as many signatures on it as I could. However, you can't just do this. You need a plan. You need to know what you're doing and how to do it. And this plan broke down into several key points. Number 1, had to program a game on the Atari. Number 2, had to get it put on a cartridge. Number 3, had to actually get the cartridges in my possession. Number 4, a bonus, a box, because for a lot of us Atari geeks, having box copies is a big deal. And finally, of course, getting a hold of their signatures. Now, you might be thinking this should be a pretty easy thing to do to get signatures on this. No. One thing that people overlook is that celebrities always have the right to refuse to sign something. Mimi Rogers will refuse to sign the issue of Playboy that she was in. Bruce Campbell will sign VHS off-air copies of his movies, but he will not sign copies of the Army of Darkness comic book put out by Dynamite. Basically, people have the right to sign or refuse to sign whatever they want, and they can be as inconsistent with it as they wish. Shea and Ruff, in fact, were a somewhat longer shot than you might expect. Their profile pages on the C2E2 website specifically mentioned that they would not sign bootleg merchandise. In fact, theirs were the only profiles that mentioned that they wouldn't sign bootleg merchandise. This is actually kind of a no-brainer because bootleg merchandise is so prevalent in the anime and manga fields. There was a Wizard World Chicago that I had been to where a vendor had a bunch of what they call gray market anime. Basically, they're bootlegs, but because they're from Hong Kong and stuff where these deals are not exactly enforced, they're considered ethically wrong, if not legally wrong. Well, not so, because Wizard and the Rosemont police actually came and shut the booth down. Now, granted, what I've created is a fan item. Granted, what I've created is a unique thing, but it's still technically unauthorized merchandise. And given the amount of bootleg stuff that's going around, I had to hope and pray that they would actually go along with this. So the first step was making a game. I had 5 weeks. That means 5 weeks to get everything done. And frankly, I didn't know how long any of this would take. I'd never pulled a number like this before. So I went to my trusty computer with my programming tools, and after a few hours of coding, swearing, testing, swearing, coding, swearing some more, and most importantly swearing, I hit compile for a final time. It was rewarded with a game of absolute wank. No, really, this is wank. It's just a black background. There's Yuma on the left side moving to the right. You're on the right side sliding up and down to throw your tiara and knock him out. In fact, I couldn't even get the tiara to be golden and get the Yuma to be green, so I had to make do with what I had. After 10, the enemy picks up speed until eventually they're going too fast for you to adjust on the side, and you lose the game just because, well, they outlasted you. In fact, while testing it, I don't think I've ever made it past the 4th wave. But I was fine with it. I wasn't looking to create an epic Sailor Moon game that I could show off or anything like that. I just wanted something that I could get signed, and wank is the easiest way to do it. The next consideration, getting it on a cart. Despite the sheer amount of weird and obscure tech that I have laying around, I still have my first computer, a Timex Sinclair 1000, thank you very much, 2K and 16K modules. I did not have an EEPROM burner so I could make my own cartridge. So I had to find somebody else to do it. And the first choice was Atari Age. Atari Age is a website that is dedicated to keeping the Atari fandom alive. They do all kinds of things. They make new cartridges. They make them for the Atari 2600, the 5200, the 7800, the whole shebang. And they will take a ROM that you create and they will put it on a cart for a little under $30. There are places that can do things faster. There are places that can do things cheaper. But Atari Age has always been good to the community, so they're the first ones that I go to. If you want an example of how they're good to the community, check out all the detective work they did on the Coleco Chameleon. That was epic. So on Saturday, I had the game done. And on Sunday, I contacted them about getting it put onto a cart. I had caught them just as they had gotten finished with the holiday rush, so they had an open schedule. And I got 3 copies of the game, 2 of which I was going to get signed. Originally it was going to be 1, but I thought, you got 2, you might as well. I placed the order, and I got the games the following weekend. Next was a box. Like I said, having games complete in box is a big deal among Atari collectors when it's something rare. And let's face it, what I had was pretty rare. Back in 2014, I decided I was going to make my own Atari game, and I made a game called Failboat. And because I wanted to have an actual box, I learned how to papercraft one. So a little creasier than an actual box, not exactly the most professional job, but I think I did pretty good. By the time I finished making the game, getting the cartridge, getting the box paper crafted, and getting everything together, I had about 1 week before C2E2. All that was left was to hope that I got lucky.